my name is Clayton, and welcome to episode 112 of the Watch Dog podcast. I'm a professional dog runner and watch enthusiast talking to his pals about dogs and watches. Thank you so much for listening. You know I appreciate it. How's everybody doing? I'm doing okay. Enjoying a little reprieve from the heat we had last week. Today was like 79 degrees. Tomorrow's going to be 76. Oh, God, we'll take it. The dogs and I were very grateful. They were so playful today. Chasing the ball, chasing each other, wrestling. When it's 85 or 90 degrees, they don't do much out there. And I can't blame them. It's not very safe for dogs to be doing too much in this weather when it's so hot. And some just don't know how to quit, right? I have to make sure they are regulating themselves. Some are very good about lying in the shade, lying in the pools I have out there. I have kiddie pools. I have running water so they can cool off that way. The problem is not every dog likes water. And some are physically too big for me to pick up and dunk in the pool. So they either lay in the shade or I'll leave the van running the whole time so they can be in the air conditioning. I have to be careful and make sure everybody has a safe and fun group. So we're really enjoying this cooler weather, and it's going to ramp up again at the end of this coming week. And I say let it, because Friday I'm taking a beach day. That's right. My wife and I are going to the beach. It can be as hot and humid as it wants. We will be cooling off in the ocean. Programming note related to my beach day. I said a few weeks ago that I was going to take the first Monday of every month off from the podcast just so I could do my invoicing, get other things done, and set the tone, for a productive yet stress-free and relaxing month ahead. I'm going to flip-flop that this week. We are going to the beach. My in-laws are coming from New York to join us, and I just thought it might be a little difficult and rude to shoehorn a podcast recording into that. And I also have a guest, and we were going to record this week, and then we had some conflicting schedules. It's his birthday this week, my mystery guest. That's a tease. I'm not going to tell you who it is. Old friend of the show. So happy birthday, mystery guest. And we're going to record next week. So you will get no episode the week of July 28th. You will get an episode again on Monday, August 4th. It should work in the coming months for me to still take the first Monday off, unless, the month starts on a Tuesday, and I should be able to get everything done so I can give you, a podcast on the 8th or something if Monday falls on that or something. But, otherwise I'll announce everything. But yeah, it's my goal to stay productive so I don't burn out on the podcast and, leave you high and dry with an episode for months and months. It's been so fun doing it. August is going to be guest heavy as well. So catching up with Watch friends. Can't wait to talk to them all again. Speaking of Watch friends, I mentioned last week I got together with my Watch friend John when I got to check out his SUF Helsinki 180 field watch. We've been good friends for, 6 or 7 years now. I guess 6. I don't know. Time flies. Who knows? We live 40 minutes from each other, but he has a busy job. I have a busy job. He has little kids. So it's just increasingly difficult for us to get together even twice a year. I think it's almost been a year since we met last. So finally, last week, we were able to make it work, and we decided to meet at an authorized dealer. We've met here before a few times. The sales associate, Claude, who works there, is just awesome. He'll let us try on anything we want to, spend a lot of time with us. He's a fellow watch geek, so I think he just likes when people go in. He always encourages more and more watch geeks to come in and visit him in the store. They have IWC. They have Mont Blanc, which John had gotten to check out for the first time in person, and I think he was really taken with a few models. Raymond Weil, however you say it. They have Luminox, Bell and Ross. But we were most interested in the Omega section. The cases were stocked, full of models. Any model you want to see from Omega's current collection was there. They had the White Dial Speedmaster on bracelet and strap. They had the Plo Prof I've never seen that in the case before. It was so cool to see that. They had the No Time to Die. They had the 60th anniversary Bond Seamaster. They had the first Omega in space. They had those Planet Ocean World Timers. They even had that bronze gold, like crazy $30,000 Seamaster on the gold mesh bracelet that was just featured on a Teddy Baldessar video this past weekend with the comedian. Is it Anthony Jeselnik? I think so. I think his name's Anthony. Yeah, so just anything you want to check out, they had. And we were like, yeah, this is cool. Wow, what an opportunity for us to check all these watches out and try them on. But we thought about it. Is it cool that they have all these models in stock for the first time that I can remember? And we were wondering, is Omega a brand people just aren't buying new anymore? Is it a brand you buy used or on the gray market, God forbid? A lot has been made of Omega and their very aggressive price hikes over the last little bit here, right? And then May 1st, they raised prices again because of the tariffs. And our authorized dealer might be an outlier, but boy, I wonder, hey, have you been to an Omega authorized dealer lately? Are the cases full of all of these quote unquote hot models that everybody talks about and are seemingly popular? Are they in stock? Let's take a look at the pricing of some of these models. The White Dial Speedmaster on bracelet, $8,500. On strap, $8,200. That Ploprof, $15,000. The No Time to Die Seamaster, $10,600. I bought one at the end of 2021, and it was $9,200 on the bracelet, $8,800 on the NATO strap. Same watch, but not the same price, right? That $30,000 bronze gold Omega Seamaster. They just came out with a new Seamaster last week. The black dial with orange highlights comes on the orange strap and the mesh bracelet. I would get it on that orange strap. I think that's great. A lot of people were griping about the price. It has an aluminum bezel, no date, no waves on the dial. Comes on a mesh bracelet, and it's $6,500. It costs more than the previous generation or other option of the current generation with a ceramic bezel, a date, and the waves, and a real bracelet. Omega is just a confused brand right now. Pricing is confused. I think their lineup is confused. Nobody has any idea what's going on with the Seamaster. I mean, Omega is a great historical brand, right? Watches that people have been proud to wear for decades and still today. They have very passionate fanboys. I went on Facebook last week when this new Seamaster was released and questioned the pricing a little bit. And boy, I heard it from Omega fanboys. And I don't mean to say anything negative about Omega. I want them to do well, but for a long time now, I've just been very puzzled by their choices. I just don't understand what they're doing, and these price hikes don't help. Are they going to join the ranks of brands like Breitling that you stay away from brand new? Or Oris that, gosh, you buy gray market or used, or like 30% off if you are buying new? You know, other brands have gone through this as well. I was talking with my friends about JLC the other day. My friend and his wife just bought a dual face Reverso. I got to check one out at my authorized dealer last November when I went to visit them in New Jersey. And it's a dream watch for me. I'm not going to say a grail because I certainly wouldn't stop buying watches after buying it, but it's a dream watch. I love the dual face. I think you have to go dual face when we're talking Reverso. They're like $13,000 or $14,000. JLC has been notorious for raising prices over the last few years. I'm not there yet to buy another expensive watch like that, at least for a couple years. We just have way too many expenses right now, and it's just not responsible for me to do that. So by the time I'm ready, what's it going to be? $15,000, $16,000? Then I'm out. Then I have to buy it pre-owned. He was saying he got an 8-year warranty on that dual face reverso. And that's the trade-off. Buying new, you get warranty. Buying gray, you don't. I bought my Detroit Lions Breitling B01 Chronomat new, which you're not supposed to do with Breitling. That's what everybody says. Stupid, but I got an 8-year warranty with it. I've done an episode or talked about at least the pros and cons of buying new, and warranty is definitely a pro. So how are we feeling about Omega? I am of the opinion that you should buy them used whenever possible. I think you can get a Sapphire Sandwich Speedmaster for $5,000, $5,500 now on the pre-owned market, as opposed to $8,400 new. And I don't know what Omega is doing with discounts anymore. I remember when I got my Speedmaster, I think I got like 15%, 20%, something like that. That was 4 years ago. So I don't know. Have you bought Omega new lately? What kind of discount did you get? Or are you staying away from buying them new? Please let me know. Send me a message on Instagram. This podcast gets released as a YouTube video as well. You can comment on there. I would love to know how we're feeling about Omega. Do you agree with me that they are a brand we should buy used instead of new? Okay, let's get on to the main topic for today. I'm not sure how old all of you are, but when I was a kid, Fido was a generic term for dog, right? If you were walking your dog down the street and you saw somebody and they came up to you and they didn't know your dog's name, but they were petting it, they might say, "Hey, Fido, good boy, Fido." That actually never happened to me, but it seems like a very plausible hypothetical situation. Old TV shows, old movies, more often than not, if there was a dog, it was named Fido. It seems like it was a very popular name for a while there, maybe in the middle of the 20th century, right? Toward the back half. I've been working with dogs for 13 years, probably hundreds of dogs at this point, approaching 1,000, I think. And I have never met a Fido in my life. Never worked with a Rover, never worked with a Spot, never worked with a Fido. I've had Mr. Wizard. I've had a couple gnocchis, the potato-based pasta. I've had not one, but two gnocchis. Phyllis, lots of funny human names, but never a Fido. Why is that? I want to read an article real quick from Reader's Digest, not the whole article. How did Fido become the default dog name? Explores how it became popular and maybe why it's not so popular anymore. You hear the word Fido and immediately assume it's referring to a dog. But it's not actually a popular dog name, today at least. Where did this now generic shorthand term come from? If someone refers to a generic or hypothetical dog, they'll probably give it one of a handful of names: Rover, Spot, Lassie, or, of course, the ever-popular Fido. There's a website for locating lost dogs called Fido Finder, and another, Bring Fido, about traveling with dogs. You see the name of those sites and instantly know that they're talking about dogs. But why? Have you ever actually met someone with a dog named Fido? I haven't. And like I said, I've been working with dogs for 13 years, hundreds of dogs, and never met a Fido. It doesn't show up on any recent list of the popular dog names. Today, dog names inspired by human names like Bella, Riley, and Charlie tend to be far more popular among dog owners than doggish names like Fido and Rover. But despite that, even today, Fido is all but synonymous with dog. So it must have had a heyday at one point, right? It sure did. And like many of these trendy dog names that you'll see today, it was inspired by a public figure. But not a human one. The dog named Fido surged in popularity because of not one but two high-profile pooches with that name. A presidential pet. The first famous Fido belonged to none other than President Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln loved animals, and before becoming president, he had several dogs and cats, including a mixed-breed dog named Fido. The name comes from the Latin word fidus, meaning trustworthy or faithful. Remember that. When Lincoln was elected in 1861, having dogs in the White House was not the fairly common beloved practice it is today. Abe's wife, Mary Todd, talked him out of bringing Fido to the White House because Fido was a rather rowdy pup, and she wasn't sure how he'd adjust to a different, potentially chaotic life in D.C. so Fido never actually lived in the White House, but he's still gone down in history as a famous presidential dog. At some point between 1861 and Lincoln's funeral in 1865, a portraitist took a photo of Fido. In fact, Fido was the first ever presidential pet to be photographed. The photo appeared in several newspapers, and by the time of Lincoln's funeral, which Fido attended, the American people were enamored with the presidential pooch. And sure enough, many of them began to name their dogs Fido. And then another quick story here, and then I promise I'll stop reading. A man's best friend. Honest Abe's Fido is the first and best known pup to engender this naming trend, but there's another well-known Fido that also deserves a mention for helping to secure the name's place as synonymous with dog. In World War II era Italy, a man named Carlo Soriano adopted a stray dog and named him Fido. The two developed a dog-human bond as strong as any, to the point where Fido would walk from his home to the bus stop every single day to greet Soriano when he got off the bus after work. Tragically, in 1943, Soriano was killed in a wartime air raid that hit the factory where he worked. Sure enough, though, Fido still continued to walk to the bus stop every single day for a full 14 years, hoping that one day Soriano would be there. Talk about loyalty. Wow, that's all I'm going to read. I'll put the article in the show notes so you can read the rest of it. But yeah, so it's understandable many years ago anyway, and maybe why I saw it in old TV shows and movies, and older people might call dogs Fido. It was a generational thing. Two high-profile dogs, events, triggered that name to be popular. And I see that now. Yeah, I've gotten a lot of Bellas, a lot of Charlies, a lot of Rileys, a lot of Pennies. I have several Pennies. Today, for my off-leash group at the farm I rent, I think I'll have like 2 or 3 Pennies total between both of my groups. So, dogs are a part of the family, and I'm sure a lot of you have dogs. I know a lot of you have dogs. How did you come up with a name for your dog? Was it after a loved one? Maybe your favorite sports player? When I was a kid, my friend Luke had a beautiful black lab named Griffey, after, you guessed it, his favorite baseball player, Ken Griffey Jr. That's such an awesome dog name. Come here, Griffey. Come here, boy. I dog sat for them a few times in high school when they went away. And he was an awesome dog. He was an awesome dog. I have a client, a dog I take named Fenwick, not Fenway, Fenwick. And it was named after Fenwick Beach, where her owners met and had their first date. I had a dog named Cooper, who was named after, you guessed it, the movie Interstellar. Sounds familiar, right? To us watch geeks. And, I don't have human kids, but it's the same thing with human kids, right? Names are very important. Sometimes we name people after ourselves. A Junior. Clayton Jr. Can you imagine? For that poor kid's sake, I think it's a good thing I did not procreate. Or I've known people like Bill the Fourth. Bill is a name in their family that was carried down from their great-grandfather on. And I'm sure there will be a Bill the Fifth, a Bill the Sixth. So yes, names can have very special meanings. And when it comes to watch brands, I think they can also be very strategic. Marketing, right? I got it back to watches. I got it there quicker than I did last week. I knew you were wondering when I was going to get there. Master. Master is a term used in watches, a lot of watches, right? Speedmaster, Marine Master, Sea Master, GMT Master, Flight Master. One of the definitions of master is having or showing very great skill or proficiency. It's a very strong word. Very masculine word, to be a master at something, right? We all want to be a master at something. Just like Fido was a very strong word, literally meant trustworthiness and friendship. And it resonated with people, not only because it was Abraham Lincoln's dog, but that word has meaning. And dogs are loyal, unconditional love. They're called man's best friend for a reason, right? That's why it's so hard to lose them. They are special family members. Fidos. I'm going to bring Fido back. That is my mission, to make Fido a popular dog name again. Maybe I need to start like a t-shirt campaign or something. Bring Fido back. I don't know if my wife would ever go for naming a dog Fido, but I'm certainly going to try. So Master. When these watches were released and created, in many cases, they were life or death. I won't say life or death tools, but they were very important tools for a particular job, right? A diver, for instance, there were no diving computers back in the day. So a Seamaster may very well be a life or death tool. A Speedmaster, originally created for race car drivers, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, and then later, of course, astronauts. Again, life or death tool. The GMT Master for pilots. You literally have to be a master at those professions, or else you do pass away, and you endanger other people's lives as well, potentially, right? So it's very strategic to call your watch the Master. There's the Marine Master by Seiko. The Land Master. I'm not sure Land Master works so much, but that brings us to another watch, the Land Dweller, just released this year by Rolex. The name was heavily criticized. Now, Sea Dweller works, another famous dive watch by Rolex, because cool things live in the sea, right? There's some mundane things like boring fish, but, you have sharks, you have whales, you have dolphins, all these really cool beasts that live in the sea, and that's exotic. Sea Dweller. Like, that name resonates with me. Like, oh, I want to be a sea dweller. Land dweller? I mean, sure, there are exciting things that live on the land, but we live on the land, and that's not exactly cool. Even if I hike and I'm adventurous all the time, I still don't get totally inspired by a watch called the Land Dweller. And of course, they're very hypey and they will sell a bunch despite the goofy name. But that was one of the things that got picked apart in the criticisms of this watch, Land Dweller. Very goofy name. Sometimes they don't always hit the mark. Land Master. I guess Land Master I could get if you're like a race car driver or a rock climber or something. And you could actually wear that watch to rock climb. I'm a Land Master. Yeah. I don't know if you're going to climb any rocks with the Land Dweller. It's just kind of a goofy name. I'm not going into origin stories when it comes to brand names or other watches. We'll be here all day, and I think that's been done to death. But I think it's kind of fun to analyze why these watches, certain watches anyway, have these names. Regional micro brands can play with naming as well. I told the story when I got my Shinola Lake Superior Monster. I live in Rhode Island, but I lived in Michigan for the first 27 years of my life, more or less. A little stint in California, but for the most part, I moved to Rhode Island when I was 27. Homesick, I moved out here all by myself. And even when I was married, I still longed for a connection to my home state because I only go back like once a year. And I remembered that my cousins liked Shinola. And when I went to try watches on, the Lake Superior Monster, I barely knew what a dive watch was. I really didn't. I didn't know how to use the bezel. That was not common knowledge. Like I said a couple episodes back, I had a preconceived notion of Rolex being a gold watch that your rich uncle bought when he retired or got when he retired. I didn't know they were adventure watches. That divers use them to swim. I had no idea. So I saw this Lake Superior Monster. I grew up swimming in Lake Superior. I'm from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So a brand with ties to my home state, ties to my family that my cousins loved, named after the lake I grew up swimming in. Where do I sign? I'll give you my money. I want it. Ocean Crawler, another micro brand. They had a Great Lakes diver. They're based, I believe, in Rochester, New York, which is on a Great Lake. And I bought that one, the Great Lakes diver, because of the name. And I could tell all my family and friends, look at this watch, the Great Lakes diver. Then I had my, Great Lakes duo there, the Lake Superior Monster and the Great Lakes diver. I think Long Island watch. They play on the New York and Long Island theme, don't they? Oak and Oscar. Very Chicago-centric. Many of their watches are named after, I don't know, streets in Chicago or other things Chicago-related. I think Jack Mason does it. I believe there are some brands overseas that do it as well. So these things resonate with certain people, right? That Shinola Lake Superior Monster resonated with me. The Great Lakes diver from Ocean Crawler. I'm not a big Ocean Crawler guy, but hey, you release something that ties me to my home state, I'm probably going to buy it. And then nicknames, right? Who do you give nicknames to in your life? Usually, unless we're being mean and we tease somebody and we never tell them their nickname, don't do that. I'm so glad I don't work in an office anymore because people can be mean. You get up and leave the room and they talk about you. They do it to everyone else, so they're probably doing it to you. So I prefer to work with dogs. They might vomit on you and bark at you, but, they won't talk crap about you. If they don't like you, they'll let you know real quick. Nicknames. We generally give nicknames to people who we really love. It's like a term of endearment, right? One of our friends. Maybe it's a variation on their last name. Smitty. I don't know anyone named Smitty, but that seems like a fun nickname. Smitty. Or maybe it's a variation on our first name. My wife's name is Marissa, but she's known as Missy. That's just her name, right? How about with dogs? I think, and I don't know if you are all like this, but our dogs are named Juniper and Lollipop, and I think we call them everything but their actual names. Juniper, I call her Junith, a play on Judith, of course. Junie. Lollipop, it's turned into Poopy, Poozy, Lollipoo, everything but their actual names. And I think that endears us to watches as well. I mean, take the Seiko nicknames, the Samurai, the Tuna, the Turtle, the Monster, right? I'm in Facebook groups dedicated to these nicknames. The brands don't make these up. The fan base does, based on maybe characteristics of the watch, like the Monster named after the fang-like indices, or the Tuna, because it looks like a tuna can, right? The Turtle, I guess it looks like a turtle. I'm in a Seiko Arnie Facebook group. Nothing but posts about Seiko Arnie, and it's fairly active. Named after, of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger, who wore it in a couple movies. I think we want to be part of that community. Like, yeah, I think I did actually stumble upon the Arnie group. And some of them are like the, vintage 80s models, and then some are the newer models. But yeah, I was like, I want an Arnie. This makes me want an Arnie. There's a tuna group. There's a turtle group. And also other brands have nicknames. The Bluesy, right? Variations of the Speedmaster and Seamaster have nicknames, right? The Ed White, the Peter Blake Seamaster, Brosnan, of course. Then there's the Pogue, and that's another space deal, right? Pogue wore that watch to space, the 6139. So nicknames are another thing that endear us to watches, and brands don't always come up with them. Almost never, actually, but they do play on it, right? I don't think they shush it. They like when a fan base loves a watch enough to think of a nickname, and sometimes they'll play on it, right? The Pepsi, Rolex has so many nicknames. So do names play a part in the watches you buy? Like if you really disliked a name, would you not buy the watch? Like if you seriously are considering a land dweller, you love everything about it. That sort of oyster quartz case, the bracelet, you even like the honeycomb dial. You love everything except you're not really the name, land dweller. I don't really love that name, right? Would that stop you? Does that influence you? Do you love a strong, like, Marine Master? Right? It just sounds tough. I can cosplay as a Marine Master while I sit at my desk and record a podcast. I think watches are a lot of cosplay. I saw that comedian Anthony Jeselnik say he did not want to cosplay with his watches. He didn't want to feel like a little kid cosplaying. In that video he did with Teddy Baldassar. I disagree. I think that's one of the things that makes watches so fun. Many of us like dive watches. We don't even go near water. I went swimming this past weekend at my friend's pool, and I wore a new dive watch that I'll talk about. It's nothing special, but, I swim like twice a year. I don't swim all the time, but I made my wife take a picture of the watch in the water. It was a big deal for me, and probably the reason I was most excited to swim is to get that watch wet. So I'm not somebody who dives all the time. I'm not a scuba diver, but I don't know, for a little while, I can kind of pretend I am. And I think that's part of the thing that draws us to watches, because we don't need them. So why not have those adventures with watches? It's just another reason to fall in love with them and fall in love with the hobby. So yes, tell me your opinion on names. Do they influence your purchasing decision, or do you not really care? We could go for so much longer with watch names. I think it's been done to death. I think I just want to take a little bit of a unique look at how brands and how people name their kids, watches, and dogs. All right. So just a reminder, there will be no episode next week. This should come out on Tuesday. I've been Monday-ish, Tuesday-ish. So you'll get your next episode 2 weeks. That one will definitely be released on Monday, August 4th. I'm actually going to SummerSlam that weekend. Very excited at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. 2-day affair now. It's like WrestleMania is a 2-day affair now. So is SummerSlam. We're going to both nights. My buddy Mario and I. Life is but a fleeting moment. He convinced me to spend a lot of money again. All right. So I'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any comments on the episode, please send me a message on Instagram. Or this gets released again as a YouTube video. Put a comment there. Take care, guys. See you in 2 weeks. And remember, sometimes you're the dog, sometimes you're the hydrant, but hey, at least you're outside. We'll catch you on the next episode of the Watch Dog Podcast. See you later.